Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on my E500 W211, the front brakes today. These brakes on this vehicle are actually brand new when I purchased them. New rotors, new brake pads, but I don't like all the dust, so I'm going to be converting over to some ceramic brake pads. In this particular instance I'm getting the Power Stop Evolution, moderately priced, seem like decent pads. Now upon examining the brakes right now, I noticed that the mechanic who installed everything simply cut off the front brake sensor. I take it that it was worn out and he didn't have another one, so he just cut the wires off. This is the driver's side. Now here's a bit of information that I had a hard time tracking down. On the driver's side, the sensor is at the 50% mark. It basically acts as a trigger to tell the computer where the brakes are worn down to. And then on the passenger side is where the sensor is that will trigger the warning that you need to service your brakes. So this one isn't terribly critical, but obviously it's there for a reason. If you look at the brake pads, they are the same except for the hole where the sensor goes. You'll notice there's a hole in the center here and this hole towards the back plate. The back plate would go on the outside of the passenger side. This one will go on the outside driver's side because that's the 50% mark where that gets worn into. Now, this is the driver's side sensor. This is the passenger side sensor. They're not interchangeable, they're color coded, and this is also the same sensor that will go in the passenger side rear. The driver's side rear does not have a sensor, so there are three sensors: passenger side rear, and then one for each wheel in the front. Now these are probably the simplest set of brakes I've ever worked on. There's two pins here that you have to knock out with a punch. The punch I have is too big, so I took a nail, 8-penny nail, ground the point off, and I'll be able to tap those two pins out nice and easy. Spring clip, just compress that a little bit to remove that, and then you can compress those pistons with your hands, and then just put an even steady pressure on those pistons with your hands. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. And then just slide those puppies right out of there when you're removing new pads. Now let's compress those pistons the rest of the way. I'm trying to shimmy this between. There's 4 pistons, 2 on each side, and I'm going to do this very slowly since this is really designed for single pistons, but if you move slow enough you will be fine. Ways to go. Also, a side note, I've never experienced this myself, but they say that if you open the doors while you're doing the brake job, the ABS system will automatically engage those pistons. Keep your fingers clear. Most of all, do not open up your car door while doing this job. Other people say that you should disconnect the SBC unit, the anti-lock brake, that whole control unit, so that it can't engage. Me, I'm simply just not going to open the car doors. Okay, and for kicks, let's see what happens when I open the door. The key is not in the ignition. Okay, now the pad that goes into the back, as I had mentioned already, has the sensor hole drilled back towards the backing plate on the driver's side. Passenger side, this one will be on the outer. On the driver's side, this one goes on the inside without a sensor on it. Now, normally these pads would have come with some brake paste. I've used these pads before and they did. Unfortunately didn't. I'm using this disc brake grease. I would recommend you spend the few dollars that it is and it'll last you forever. Get the Mercedes-Benz brake paste. Totally different consistency and it lasts on the pad. And I'll slide that into place right there. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the outer one. I already have the sensor installed. Once again, this is the pad. It goes on the outside with the gray sensor, and the hole is in the middle, not back towards the backing plate. And we'll just smear some of our generic caliper grease on there. Don't get any onto the pad. Slide it into place. Now the kit I purchased came with new springs. I cleaned the pins off. You notice on the pin there's a little compression spring there, and that when you tap it in will seat into a pocket on the back of the caliper and lock it in place for you. And I'll start by fishing that through there. The bottom one. Place temporarily. Push this one through. Hold this retaining spring down by hand. And then just tap those pins into place. Worst part about it is you don't have any room behind it. Last step would be plug in my 50% sensor for the driver's side, and this brake job is done. If you like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will promise to bring you more of the same.